Hello, my name's Chris Paul, and I am the CEO and founder of Man on Inverclyde, a mental health charity based in Greenock in the west of Scotland. And we're bringing you this message today to raise awareness of mental health and raise awareness of our charity and how we can maybe support you, your friends, or your loved ones if you need it. Now, we started off as a suicide prevention charity and we're continuing that mission. We want to break the stigma attached to mental health. We want to break the stigma attached to men's mental health, and I know that a lot of men will be listening to this podcast. So please get in touch with us via Man on Inverclyde on social media. You'll find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you're not on social media and you want to get in touch with us via email, just type in support@manoninverclyde.com. Our landline here is 01475 910 So yeah, get in touch with us if you're struggling with your own mental health or you're concerned about a friend or a family member. One of our staff members, our volunteers, here to support you. Thanks for listening.
Hello and welcome to the Gallant Few Rangers podcast. My name's Colin and I'll be your host as always. Tonight we're here to talk about a wee bit of football, but even more travelling, because this time next week 90% of this podcast is going to be sunburn and we'll be delighted for it. Joining me to look ahead to, I think it's T-minus 6 nights, 6 sleeps to Seville. That's presumable sleep. First of all, Craig Campbell. Craig, how are you?
I'm not bad, Colin. I am just barely holding it together. Honestly, I've managed to peel myself away from follow. Literally spending all day, every day, just checking the threads, and absolutely buzzing for getting away, man. But can't wait.
No, I think I find that bittersweet feeling that you've just described there sums up basically every Rangers fan. Just the excitement, but it's a bit too much excitement that you're driving yourself mental right now, and you need, I don't know, we either need something to take us away from thinking about it for 6 days or just get a fucking time machine.
Do you know, I can actually guarantee something. See, if you were to ask me the same question about a week and a half's time, I will not be wanting to speak about football for a good few months. I can tell that I'm going to be absolutely scared with football after this, because once I crash. But riding high on the crest of the wave just now, buddy.
Aye, that's why you're wearing all white tonight. That's getting ready for fucking Wimbledon, obviously, for the summer sports. Also joining us, Davie Pork. Davie, how are you, my man?
I'm smashing, Colin. Smashing. And obviously, Ibrox last night, completing the full set of home fixtures for only the second time, which was, I had to go. But last night was good just in that it's just giving us clues as to what's leading up to the big prize, which is next Wednesday. Only 4 sleeps till I head to the airport, which is, and then it will be game on. That's when the excitement will really start. But it's kind of, from what I remember of Manchester in the build-up, so just praying to God, all things holy. Things fall our way. The game on Saturday goes okay, just ticking them off as it comes, just super excited.
So before we talk about the football, let's just delve right into the Seville plans. I want to get both your takes on how you're getting there, what your plans are for over there. And it's glutton for punishment. As I was saying off air, I had my flights booked from Manchester to Valencia. Had it booked last Friday via, I don't know if MD Important listens to this pod. Fuck it, lastminute.com, you bastards. And so I booked them through, booked the flights through lastminute.com on the Friday. By the Monday, they had refunded the booking, cancelled it, and said, you can now book this for £500 more. So right now I'm scrambling for plans. But punish me, Davie, how are you getting there? Talk us through your plans.
Well, I'm going to drive East Kilbride, pick up a couple of guys on Monday morning. We're crack of dawn, well, not quite the crack of dawn, 8 o'clock kick-off for us. It's a drive to Manchester and straight onto the flight, just dump my car at the hotel we'll be staying at when we get back. Over to Alicante. We'll be in Alicante for one night, and then I'll pick up the hire car at 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning, and then it's a 6-hour drive over to Seville, where we've got a 2-bedroom apartment with patio and courtyard, and so we'll be getting ourselves set up there. So there'll be a 3-day fiesta. Well, there'll be a 2-day fiesta, it'll be a 3-day fiesta if the result goes our way. And then will be a drive back to Alicante on Thursday, and the flight Thursday night gets us back. We're in an overnight stay in Manchester, drive back to here Friday morning. So the hotels are booked, the flights are paid for, booked. It's just we've got 3 tickets between 5 of us. There'll be 7 of us all told going into the apartment, but the guys I'm travelling with, we've got 3 between 5. So here's hoping. I just need to make sure that I take, I don't know, a loaded deck of cards, find a way, a 2-headed coin. I'll be exploring all options to make sure that vote goes my way. So by hook or by crook, we'll get there. So I'll be at that stadium one way or another. So
born and bred in the East End, I fancy your chances of getting a ticket. 3 out of 5. I'm going to put my money on you, Davie.
The Easterhouse boy will be bursting out at me when I get within 100 yards of that stadium. I'll be on the wall or whatever, done that before, so we'll find a way. Mug some Spaniard, some unsuspecting Spaniard, but I'll be sporting a moustache.
David.
Arriba.
Craig, what's your plans for next week, mate?
I'm setting off for Leeds, probably about 1 o'clock on Monday. Drive down, park the car. I've got a flight at 8 o'clock into Malaga. Going to get a wee taxi ride into Benalmádena. I would love to say that I'm staying in a 5-star hotel, but I am most definitely not. I actually originally had booked an apartment similar to Davie in Seville, but as it came closer, it was like a 4-bedded apartment, and it was like $2,000, and I started panicking, stupidly thinking that I might not get the rooms covered. Now I'm of the firm belief that I would have probably been able to pay for my trip plus paid for £3,000 tickets if I'd kept that room, but hey ho. So I'm now staying in Benalmádena in a lovely apartment block, which I booked and then checked TripAdvisor. So for anyone listening, I would firmly advise on checking TripAdvisor before you book. I'm actually questioning whether I should take my own duvet or not after seeing the pictures. So I'm going with my son, and I'm going to spend the Tuesday on the beach and setting off up to the square for a wee bash. I don't know what they call the things, but a bash, a wee party at night, and get ready for the game, which I have managed to get a bus, which I think, like I said the other night, I think a few people are going to struggle to get buses and taxis and stuff like that, but I managed to get a bus that's going to take us into Seville for about 12 o'clock, and I'm going to be parking my backside at the front of whatever fan zone Mr. Robertson's going to get set up. And you were saying about Manchester and kind of looking back at Manchester, Davie, and I was 18 at that point, and for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm actually in recovery. I don't drink anymore. Back in Manchester, I certainly was. So back then it was just a mad haze, and then parallel on that with taking my son, I'm just absolutely buzzing. The thought that I'm getting the opportunity to take my 11-year-old boy to something like this is just what dreams are made of, man.
And how's he feeling? Because I was 14 in Manchester, and I only found out a few days before that my dad was taking me down, and honestly, I was high as a kite for days. Like, if I'm excited about this, even though I don't know if I'm definitely going to Seville yet or not, I'm still excited, but that's just a different level. How's the wee man feeling, Craig?
Firstly, I can't believe that you're 4 years younger than me.
I know, I look like shite.
I'm only winding you up, Colin. basically, just to give you a kind of wee idea, right? I booked a £10 flight from Leeds to Malaga back in January, and didn't book a flight home, and just recently moved into a new house. Separated from the wee man's mum last year, but we're still very, very close. She's of the other persuasion in Glasgow, and the wee man turned to me at half time and says, "Right, we're booking the flights home, Dad." And I was hoping that he was going to ask me further down the line. He asked me half time on Thursday, and I turned to him and I says, "I don't know if we're going to manage it, wee man." Because I was supposed to be starting a new job this Monday as well. And see the face. My wee boy's one of the kind of wee boys that will, like he doesn't want to hurt your feelings and stuff. Even at 11-year-old, he's always very conscious of that stuff. But I could tell it absolutely broke him. Fast forward the tape, and his mum actually offered to help. So there is good sides of the people over the other side of Glasgow. But he's on cloud nine. Honestly, he's on cloud nine, and the bastards Castore that keep putting out the things, fucking taps and training tops and all that stuff, man. He's sending me WhatsApp after WhatsApp. So I'm going to need a bank loan after this, but hey ho.
No, I'm absolutely delighted for you both. You and the wee man, and yourself as well, Davie. You've got everything sorted. Davie, Craig mentioned about Stuart Robertson there as well. So I don't know if everybody's seen Stuart Robertson's interview or the press conference today. So there's quite a bit of mixed reaction, especially the comment about there's not going to be a beam back to Ibrox. And I don't know, I think it's very much wait and see what happens over the next few days. But a few things I did take from it was he was asked about the Spanish media, the Spanish statements about Spanish police trying to urge fans who don't have a ticket not to travel. Stuart Robertson was asked about this, and he said that's pretty standard for any foreign police to say that. But what he did say was fans should go there in the numbers, and whatever they do, whether they've got a ticket or not, they should just enjoy themselves. And I think so. Saturday right through to the following Saturday, Spain and Portugal is going to be littered with the feel-good factor.
Yeah, I mean, even at the game last night, you can tell there is just a feel-good factor. This was the same on Saturday. Everyone is just buzzing for this to come about, finding our way. You know, you can hear the chat as you pass people in the street. It's Seville, Seville, Seville. You know, so it's consumed all of us. We're all going to get there, and I'm hoping that we'll just have a fantastic time. You know, if we can enjoy the game, we'll give our all and take what comes, and we can ask no more than that. But, you know, it's just been so long. You know, I've waited from 2008 for Rangers to get to a European final. I may not see another one, so I know I'm just going to have a ball. With no anger, you know, because if it doesn't go our way, we just we're hoping that all things holy that it does go our way, but we take whatever it is. Just enjoy ourselves, for Christ's sake. You know, it's this is football. It's supposed to be enjoyable. It's okay to enjoy yourself. So I'll be going in that frame of mind. You know, that was this is. I'll never see the likes of it again. So here we go.
You mentioned the feel-good factor last night, and it's a bit bizarre because the last thing in my mind is the game or the result, but we actually played really well, and it was a 4-1 victory, a really good display at home last game of the season. But I dare say Rangers should have got shredded 3-0 with under 12s, and I'd still be feeling the same, and most Ibrox would have. But last night it was a nice send-off for the last game of the season. Obviously disappointing not to win the league, but we've got bigger fish to fry, so it's probably going to be some of the players the last time we may well see them. I think it was a good night all in.
Absolutely. I mean, I was at the game last night. You know, obviously it was a change side, and all I saw that as an exercise is to get kind of minutes and legs, try a couple of things, and find out who Gio will be. He probably has a fair idea. You know, probably 9 of the 11 who he's going to start with. There's obviously fitness issues with Ramsey and Roof, and how the whole thing's going to be put together. But I'm sure he's between the training ground and the games that we've got left, we're all concentrating. He'll be concentrating his fire on Wednesday night. This is just far too big an issue, you know, because if we pick up this trophy, this will be our biggest achievement ever in 150 years. And you know, when you do the tour, and the Founders Trail tour, and when they actually discovered that Rangers were formed in 1872, and it came from a reference of some notes which were prepared by Willie Gibson, who was at Fleischer. So his recollection of the first game against Callender was that we played in late May 1872, which is how we discovered eventually, because we celebrated our centenary in the wrong year. But this will be the 18th of May, 2022. So it's almost to the fucking day we'll be 150 years old, and for our to be this will be the best day best day yet after 150 years. I think, maybe just the stars are aligning for us here. It's coming together. There is a God.
Yeah. This is one of these bittersweet feelings and conversations that we have where when you say that stuff and fate and talking about everything just feeling right, I get myself really worked up, and I almost convince myself we're going to do it. But then I get really annoyed with myself. Sorry, like, am I going to jinx it? I can't think like that. I can't be overconfident, and it's just internal fucking turmoil. But no, I can't help shaking that feeling. It feels right. Craig, just touching on the game last night, I think David makes a good point that Gio will definitely have who he wants to start next Wednesday. I think last night and this Saturday coming, I think it's just getting the balance of making sure players are rested, but also they've got minutes in their legs and no too stale for next week. I think that's why we've seen pretty much a first team that were going to be starting next week, I think.
Aye. Do you know, one of the disappointing things over the last couple of weeks is it's just the fact that the season's actually ending when it is. We seem to be really, really gathering momentum just now, and if it was only just a few weeks earlier, this season would have looked even better. Do you know what I mean? It's like really gathering momentum, and the other side are, they almost limped over the line there last night. And do you know, Davie actually mentioned it the other night, and I was saying that these games are an inconvenience. See, now looking at it, we definitely need these games. See, when Rangers do have breaks and we seem to kind of give the players time off and stuff like that, we've seen in the past that these players react better when it's sticking fast and it's constant, and it's amazing to see the likes of Tav stepping up and hitting another penalty. I mean, that guy, it wasn't that long ago that we were calling for him to be removed as a penalty taker, and now he must be, I don't know how many in a row he scored, but every time he steps up, you're like, we're scoring. Aye. Yep. Amazing.
This must be the longest period in the last 5 years where there's no been a fuck's sake Tav muttered at Ibrox. I think like we all deserve to win the Europa League for what's happened the last 10 years. These players deserve it. If one guy deserves it, it's fucking him. Look at the shit he's went through. He started with us in the Championship. He came up and he seen battering after battering at Celtic, and being labelled a serial loser at times. Even our own fans were saying he's never captain material. He's not even a good enough right back. He can't defend. To have this turnaround over the last 5-6 years, I don't care what you say. He's a Rangers captain regardless of what happens over the next 7 days.
Colin, honestly, I watched a video earlier on. It was basically like the journey to Seville, all the goals. And I didn't realise up until the day that he'd scored so many first goals. Like, he was the first scorer in so many of the games that we were playing. And I mean, a lot of Rangers supporters over the years will say because he's not vocal enough and he doesn't. He's not a kind of wire-in merchant, and that's why I would have always, up until probably a month or two ago, I would have always looked at Ryan Jack as being the next captain of Rangers, and it was always because of that kind of the solidness in midfield, and every 50-50 you knew that Jack was going to be winning it, and see if you look at the progress that Tav has made. I mean, that first season in the Championship, he was head and shoulders above everybody. He was a fantastic player. Maybe the first season, maybe first 2 seasons, particularly when we went to Parkhead, maybe the games where he would be a wee bit more under pressure, I was always kind of a wee bit worried about Tav, whether he would kind of maybe go quiet in games, and it was almost as if the big games got to him a wee bit. That's the way that I perceived it anyway. And now to watch him kind of walking out there, and it's not a kind of swagger that he's got, but it's that confidence in himself, and it seems to be that he's got this confidence in his teammates as well. Like you said there, I think there's never been any question on the way that he carries himself as a Rangers captain. Like every time you hear him speaking, every time he's representing the club, he is like, he's the way that you would expect. Like the likes, I know that John Gregg is kind of taking him under his wing, and he's that kind of person where it's like he knows the responsibility that's on his shoulders. I mean, if you look back, my favourite ever player growing up was Barry Ferguson, arguably the best player that I'd seen up until this era. He was a Rangers captain, he led from the front. Did he represent Rangers properly off the park at times? Probably not. Whereas when you look at Tav, it's like you look at him, and I would dare say that 99.9% of the other half of Glasgow would respect the guy as well. You couldn't tell you the last time that something negative was put out about him. It's normally only Rangers fans that are putting negative things about Tav.
Davie, another couple of players I want to touch on for last night, maybe even going in. One I want to talk about quickly because I don't see him featuring next Wednesday. Alex Lowry signed a new contract the last couple of weeks. Delighted to see him start again last night. Craig mentioned swagger there about James Tavernier. Alex Lowry has this, but he's not a young cocky guy. He's comfortable being on that park with these senior pros, and that's what I want to see in a young player. And he's got the talent to back it up. I thought he played really well last night.
Yeah, he did. I thought Rangers collectively were very good in the first half, particularly last night. Second half, they came into it a wee bit more. I think they decided that they were going to play the physical card, which so there was a few robust challenges. But certainly Alex Lowry is not out of place in that team. You can see, the wee ball roll that he does over his foot in terms of in one touch. I think his default position is to go forward. He's got a lovely wee turn in him, when and he can do the slide rule passes. There's lots to like about this boy. It's just about game time. So I think next season will be a big year for Alex Lowry. You can see that there'll be changes in the summer, no doubt about that, and I'm sure Alex will feature prominently. And then when he gets to 10 games, 15 games, 20 games, there'll be a reassessment. Has he delivered on that promise? Does he know it? What do we need to work on? So it'll be a continual process of refinement, as it is with any athletes. Adjusting your game to what you eventually find when you're playing with the big boys, because there's nowhere to hide in Ibrox. And last night, I think it was the second half when there was a wee misplaced pass, and you can just tell from his body language he's super keen not to do that. He doesn't want, he wants everything to be just so, but that's going to happen, and there's going to be the big oh no moments from the crowd. He just has to learn to cope with that, and it's not the end of the world when that happens. You constantly improve, and you can look to no better example of that than James Tavernier, because you look how Tav has developed, since his time, because he's come up from Wigan, and having been round the houses down south, in terms of the numbers of clubs he'd played for. but he's found a place at Ibrox which is where he can flourish, and we just need to make sure that we get the environment for Alex Lowry and other youngsters to flourish. And sometimes the Rangers fans need to have a wee word with themselves about how we respond to these guys, because they hear it. You know, it's not like they're tone deaf and they've got earmuffs on, so they will hear the crowd. But we should be there to support the team, you know. And I know, I mean, I'm as guilty as anyone of the for fuck's sake to have moments, you know. So, Christ, and I'm in good company up in the club deck, I can assure you. So, but I think we're in a good place, you know, with the numbers of youngsters that we do have coming through. You know, it's really good. And Diallo, which obviously he'll begin heading back down south, you wonder what the future holds for that boy, because that's 2 goals in 2 games. You can see he's clearly got a bit, but I think that the same process is going to be true for him, probably at another club, about getting in first team games and continuing to develop, continuing to learn. Because Alex Lowry can have all the technical ability in the world, but if he can't play in front of 50,000 at Ibrox, he's no fucking use to us. So that's what he's now going to learn.
Craig, I'm a Diallo, and I want to caveat even before I say this statement, because I don't want the fucking maniacs and follow hold running for me when I say this. I think I'd sign him in another loan deal for next season, with the caveat being that we have maybe 2, well, at least 1 recognised right winger in front of him, and Diallo as an option, because I think there's definitely talent there, and I think he's got a bit of a hard ride. He should never have been put in a Parkhead, and he's never really recovered for that. And this season he's not really going to get a real chance to recover for that, but I think he's shown enough glimpses that he could be an option going forward.
Yeah, do you know, I would actually agree with you on that, Colin. And I think Van Bronckhorst has kind of kept the door open, slightly ajar, I would say. I wouldn't say that he's said that he's definitely going to think. Maybe he's definitely not said that he's going at the end of the season. You hit the nail on the head there with the Parkhead statement there, because it's like combine that game with the price tag that he's been labelled with 40 million, and he's coming for Manchester United. To be fair, Rangers are guilty a wee bit of kind of building him up before he turned up at Ibrox as well, where it was like the big signing, and then Aaron Ramsey, and I think the 2 of them were kind of set up for a bit of a fail, because Diallo went into Parkhead, and players like Barisic, we've spoke about, he's an internationalist. He's one of the first in the team sheet for Croatia. You look at Barisic at the start of that game, and he was spooked. And then Diallo must be about 20, 21. And to expect him to come back from that, it's a tall order. What I would say is that it seems to be that the players must have got round him, or somebody's got round him and kind of had a wee word in his ear, because the biggest complaint about his performance at Parkhead wasn't so much his performance, it was the tracking, it was the tackling. There was a couple of times where there was balls in the air, and you're never going to win it. Like Kent's never going to win a header against Arsfeld, but do you know what I mean? He at least looks as if he's attempting.
Kent challenges for every ball. To be fair, he's the weakest guy in the park.
Aye, and that's all we ask for, is at least challenge for it. And it was times when his 2 feet didn't even leave the ground, and you're going, pal, you're not even helping yourself here. Whereas now you're looking at him, and he seems to have that wee bit of swagger that we're kind of talking about with what's required at Rangers. Do you know what I mean? Flair players, they have to have that. And Ibrox is one of the best places that footballers will ever get to play in, but it can also be one of the most challenging places for a footballer to play in, especially if they're wearing the blue jersey. Do you know what I mean? And I've been guilty of it, and sometimes I need to have a word with myself. Do you know what I mean? I'll be shouting at a player, and it's not until I hear somebody else round about me shouting at that player and I'm going, fuck's sake, mate, calm down. Then I need to realise I've actually been doing that for the last 10 minutes. The boy looks as if he's definitely got something. Seeing him in a Union Jack bucket hat the other day as well definitely gave him big tick marks against his name for me. Do you know what I mean? Vladimir Weiss came to mind when I seen the pictures of him. But aye, listen, see at the end of the day, see if we win on Wednesday, the money's there. Do you know what I mean? Give him a chance. And see what Davie said there as well. I mean, see if you put in the caveat, listen, give him a 6-month loan and see where we're at the end of it. And if he can't make it, then he can't make it. And chances are, if he doesn't do it next season at Rangers, he's probably not going to do it at any Premier League team down south.
Oh, you go, Davie.
Sorry, what I would say is, but Diallo, see his appearance at Parkhead, the guy had been in the door for the matter of days. And no matter what team you play for and at what level you play, is that there's got to be a connection with your teammates for you to be giving your all for the cause. So he was essentially playing with a bunch of strangers. They don't know him, and he doesn't know them. So, and what's required, so no doubt that in the months that have passed from that day to now, the boys will be getting in his head. It's about, this is what we expect of you, and here's what you're in part of this team. So he'll have grown with it. You can actually see from his connection with other players on the pitch that he is now much more familiar. You saw it at the end of the Leipzig game, when they were all doing somersaults around the pitch, that he's now connected to the other members of the squad, so which wasn't true when he hit the ground running in Parkhead or walking, as it turns out. But that's important. Time sometimes just takes care of it, but he has to be willing to learn, and learn from that experience, understand, where we're coming up short and do something about it. That's absolutely crucial. But I would not be adverse to giving the boy, another 6 months or even another year, because I think he would benefit from it, and I think our club would benefit from it as too. So,
sticking with you, Davie, quickly on another player, and the reason I'm asking about these players is because there's going to be a lot of focus on your big hitters next week. Your Alan McGregor, Tavernier, John Lindstrom, who's the best on earth. I don't know if MD's heard. So I want to give the focus on the players who we probably do still need to talk about, but we won't automatically think about. One being Scott Wright. And Dave, I'm going to ask you, because we've spoken about him at length in this podcast, how frustrating he's been. 2 months ago, if I told you, Davie, that Scott Wright's got a very, very good chance of starting in a European final, you would have fucking punched me through the screen. But here we are. Got his goal again last night, and kind of the opposite of what we're talking about with Diallo at Parkhead. He puts the effort in. He'll try his darn hardest. Confidence.
Clearly, as we discussed about, the same with Tavernier, same with Diallo, same with Scott Wright. If he is, turns up, there was a couple of occasions on Saturday where he almost, and I was like, maybe did I miss, see that properly, when he was it was almost like the Michael Moles turn, where the ball comes to him and he changes his body weight from one side to the other and let the ball roll through, and he did it twice, and I was like, wow, this is there's a new Scott Wright. But you can see in the last few weeks, and as the team, there's momentum. I think there's also a togetherness in the team, from the Braga games, from the Leipzig games, you can see. And I'm thinking that Gio's clearly bringing an influence to this squad, because it'll have taken him some time from November to put his stamp on it. And you can see that there is a togetherness in the team, and we're all in this together, guys. And I think Scott Wright's responding to that. He's seen as a valued member of the team, a valued member of the squad, and it seems to just be a wee bit more confident, because there's no doubt he's got the ability. He's got spades, he's surprising. And I've actually written down the team, kind of penciled down as to what, and I've got him down as a maybe with maybe him or Kamara. So I'm not sure. So but Gio will know. But certainly, even the fact that I'm writing him now down as a possible starting 11 for next Wednesday just tells you the shift where Scott Wright was to where Scott Wright is now. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and there's been a few players since the turn of the year who've done a massive 180. John Lundstrom won. Borna Barisic, he's went for the cream of the crop down to the depths of despair to back up top again. And you know what? We talk about character all the time at Rangers. Craig, you mentioned that about this jersey is heavier than the strip of other clubs, and character's a big thing. Like, you're not always going to have it swimming, and fair play if you can pick yourself up and get back in favour, because we are a tough crowd. Then that's sometimes the bigger battle than going on and displaying your talent. Looking ahead to Saturday then, Craig, I know nobody's really interested, but it's just a fucking minor inconvenience. But I'm in two minds that, I don't know, like, the players that didn't feature as much well, to be fair, quite a lot of players featured, even players who maybe potentially be only an option used as a sub, like Arfield, Ballard and stuff, they all featured. I think it will be a case of the Alex Lowry, Charlie McCann, Leon King, all these, John McLaughlin in goals. I think it'll be a full change, and I can't see us risking anybody on Saturday.
Nah, I think you're right. I actually think that Hearts will probably do similar. They seem to be they've been resting players for the Scottish Cup final for weeks now, including the game at Parkhead. I would go so far as to play Andy Firth. I would actually get wee Andy in. I'll put him up top. But again, you're going to have players. By the way, I would not like to bet against Goldson playing. Goldson seems to be one of the players that he is just playing no matter what, and he's just an absolute machine. Do you know what? Barring somebody absolutely clattering him, the big guy just seems to just be able to play. I mean, it's a phenomenal amount of games that Rangers have played this season. I think it's upwards of 60 games. And it's actually incredible when you think about it. Just touching on what you were saying as well about the character. There's a character in this Rangers team which, throughout following Rangers, I've seen players that have had strong characters, going for like the likes of Anna Russo's, Ferguson's, Ronald de Boer, who was the one that kind of strutted about, and there's always been a couple of characters within a Rangers team that I've grew up with, and maybe out with the third division, apart from Big Jig. But there was always leaders in Rangers Football Club. See, within the team just now, there seems to be, it's just littered with strong characters. And I mean, you look back at the semi-final against Hibs, and after it, Goldson was getting absolutely slaughtered for the comments he was making about the lack of appetite, and we all know about the contract situation with the big guy, and the mistakes he's maybe made. Well, not maybe, he's made throughout the season, and he's consistently now churning out performances he was doing last season. Connor Goldson is an absolute colossus when it comes to churning out performances consistently. Every time he makes a mistake, he's one of the ones where he does not hide. In this Rangers team, it's like Tav. Tav will make mistakes, he never ever hides. And Scott Wright, which we've been talking about, he has that about him as well, where especially I think it was against Leipzig away, where I was screaming for him to get pulled off at half time, and I thought, I don't want to see him in the Rangers jersey again after the performance. And then he comes in at the home game against Leipzig, and I think I'm certainly guilty of it, looking at the time sheet and going, God, Scott Wright, and he had a hand in two of the goals. And he's one of the players where he gets the ball, and see, if you know, as soon as he touches the ball, if he gets a good touch on the ball, he can make something magic happen. There's a thing about Scott Wright that he's just fast. He's got a bit of talent as well. He's got a bit of magic in him. And it's one of the ones where it's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do. He could go in and beat two players, or he could pass the ball right out of the park.
I think you're right there about if he's involved in a move, it has to start well, because as soon as he does get a bad touch, is what Davie says, it's just that lack of confidence. I think it was you, David, that said that a few weeks ago. If we could put Scott Arfield's swagger into Scott Wright, we've got a player who won't be playing for Rangers basically, but that's kind of what we need. But
Colin, just on Connor Goldson though, I think Big Connor's been an absolute giant the last few months, and we've got a team which has now got momentum. But I think the role that he plays within that team, Connor, he's obviously very vocal, and he's not a £20 million player, but he will be a several £1 million player. But the influence that he has and the influence that he has with others within that team, and I'm thinking Bassey, Barisic, and I think even him and Tav, but the influence and geeing people on, letting them know that here's your responsibilities, we're in this collectively, is absolutely crucial. Quite apart, he can ping the 60-yarders quite well as well, and he's obviously a big, strong boy, but I think his vocal influence within the team is absolutely crucial. And you can see between, Gio's influence on the team and Big Connor, there's Tavernier, who's not quite the screamer, which Connor is, but he lets the others know as well, just in a different way. But you can see that the characters within the team all add up, so it's the synergy thing. We're greater than the sum of our parts, in that team. So a lot of, good players are making a really, really good team. And I think Big Connor plays a vital role in all that. We will miss Connor Goldson if he goes.
So I was going to ask you both about that. I think so. Connor Goldson will usually clap all 4 stands at Ibrox, but it was he spent a wee bit more time looking at each terrace than he usually does. It did look the mark of last game at Ibrox kind of thing, but I don't know. That's again, I don't want to tempt fate, but will the lure of Champions League football keep him there for another season potentially? What's your thoughts?
Here's hoping so. He had the wee reflective moment when he was on the pitch at Hampden, in the semi-final, when he was kind of at the corner between the West Stand and the North Stand, and he was, just having a wee look, having his wee quiet moment, as if he could do such a thing within Hampden as the crowd going berserk in front of him. So maybe that's just Connor's way of coping with things. I'm hoping that a deal could still be done. He may have already made up his mind, in which case, that will be his last game at Ibrox. And sorry to see the big man go, to be honest, because I think the last wee while, I think he's been good since he's been here. And the number of games that he plays, and I think Gerrard commented on that he just does not want to be on the sideline. He wants to play every single game. So characters like that, it's more than, what they contribute on the ball. It's what they contribute within the team. And I think Big Connor will be, for me anyway. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but for me anyway, he will be sorely missed.
I think also, see, even when you look back at European games pre-COVID, and then after COVID, the Old Firm games and stuff, he seems to react the same way after games. Like, I think people kind of buy into this kind of. He has stood in front of stands and watched as the fans are celebrating and stuff. It isn't something new that he's kind of doing there. There's been a lot made about him spending a longer time this week with kind of taking in the fans and stuff. But do you know something that I keep thinking of? What player do you know with that quality that is in a European final and he's literally going to be a Bosman in 2 months' time, and there is no teams that are linked in any of the tabloids with him? It's quite bizarre that if he isn't going to be staying with Rangers, then why is somebody not got him in a pre-contract? Why is there no anything coming out about talks? I genuinely do think that we're going to be in for a pleasant surprise with Connor Goldson. I turned round to the guy behind me in the Europa League game and at half time, and we were talking about Connor Goldson, and it's like, where do you go after Rangers after a semi-final with Ibrox like that? I mean, the amount of players that have left Rangers and they've you could go through the cards with players that have said I came too late and I left too early, and they didn't get to experience Ibrox the way that Connor Goldson's got to experience it. Connor Goldson experienced 55 with 0 fans in the stadium, but certainly a hell of a lot of fans outside the stadium. I just think, see, once the dust settles, it's really where are you going to go after that? You could maybe make another 20,000, 30,000 a week. I just pray to God that Rangers can come up with a wee bit more cash for the guy if that's what the problem is. I think getting us to a European final, hopefully winning it, I think merits us looking at the wage structure a wee bit more and going, right, okay, there's a wee bit more money in the bank, let's go for it and keep the guy.
Aye, well, with the amount of money that's came out of your bank account for Rangers there the last month, with the cup finals, the season tickets and fucking majors, then the money should be gone somewhere. So Stuart Robertson, get on the phone to the accountants. I'm sure we can strike a deal. So, last point I'm going to cover there. By the way, I'm not going to run through usually when I'm on the host, I'll try and get everybody's predictions for Saturday in terms of the team sheet, who'll start. Not a fucking hope in hell, man, because as you say, it could be anything between Andy Firth to Broxley Bell and goals. We don't know. But the last player I want to speak about is Kemar Roofe. So Davie, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst said that he's going to be a last minute decision whether he's fit for the final or not. They're hoping that he'll progress well. I'm in kind of two minds. I don't want to put all the eggs in the Kemar Roofe basket, because this team's shown that we can play without a striker and win. We can beat good teams, but at the same time, I'd rather have him than no, because we need our best players as much as possible for next week.
I don't know whether this is going to be controversial or not, but see, without having played in the last 3 weeks, I mean, if I think it's going to be telling that whether Roofe is on the pitch at Tynecastle on Saturday or no. See, if he's not, I doubt that he will be on the first 11 anyway in Wednesday night. I think as you've said, we've coped quite well without Morelos or Roofe, in an out and out number 9. So I don't think, even if Roofe was fit, whether Gio would be playing him from the start or not, because I honestly don't think we need it. Because I think we've got we've found a system. We've been we never found it. It was forced upon us, probably, the system that we've now developed. So I think that it'll be something akin to what we've been seeing in Leipzig. When Joe Aribo is going to obviously feature prominently here, but we go without. It's the false 9 thing, isn't it? But we don't require Kemar Roofe. To be honest, if he's not fit and he's not got minutes in his legs, I wouldn't be putting him in the start 11.
Craig, David I think it is a really valid point. More so if you look at the history of Kemar Roofe, he's been injured time and time again at Rangers, and we always do appreciate what he brings, but every time he comes back from an injury, it takes him 2 or 3 games in a row to really get up to speed. I think it's a fair point, and it might be an option from the bench if we need it. That's if he is fit.
You totally stole my thunder with that, Colin. Totally. Kemar Roofe is one of the players that you're choking for him to get back, and then when he comes back and see if you look at Alfredo Morelos, if he's generally in the past, if he's been out, it's been suspensions. But when he's brought back in, he hits the ground running. Normally scores. He's normally headlines right away. Kemar Roofe, on the other hand, hopefully I'm wrong with this, but just to kind of back up what you're saying, it seems to be a bit of a damp squib when he comes back. On the flip side of that, I would say that he's a really, really useful substitute. When he's coming back, I mean, the amount of goals that he's scored at the tail end of games when he's just coming back from injury, that's maybe something that we can look at. But I think Davie's 100% right. I think he definitely needs to have minutes in his legs at some point on Saturday. If we don't see him on the bench, he's not going to be playing on Wednesday at all. But he's a cheeky chap putting that on his Instagram tonight with the exciting times ahead he's put. I don't know if that's him just kind of trying to stir people up or what, but
maybe he's got a ticket for the game.
At least he has.
Well, do you remember that when he was injured earlier this season and when he came back in, there was he hadn't scored in the first couple of games, question marks were beginning to ask, what we getting from Kemar Roof. Then he popped in the hat-trick against St Mirren, and the real Kemar Roof's back, and it was lollipops and sunshine after that. So, but there was the first couple of games where, we're saying, well, what we getting from Kemar Roof? So the danger is that he goes in on Wednesday and we get the Kemar coming back from injury performance, which we just can't afford to do. We have to go with the tried and trusted. And the tried and trusted at the moment has taken us through Braga and it's taken us through Leipzig. So I for me anyway, I know Gio gets paid the big bucks for all of this, but I would be reluctant to change it.
I think, see if you could guarantee 100% the Kemar Roof that played against Celtic at the end of the season, last season, the Kemar Roof that played against Braga, the Kemar Roof that played against Motherwell last season, 100% get him in there. He's when he's on his game, it's almost as if you're like, he's definitely going to score. He's going to score. In Braga at home, like he had the goals chopped off, but he still kind of went, he's on it tonight. He is 100% on it. On the flip side, if he's not on it, then he seems to be a man down. That's my concern.
I think he relies so much, though, on the service that's provided, because when he did pop in the hat-trick against St Mirren, all of his goals were no more than 8 yards from the goal line, all within, touching distance of between the 6-yard line and the penalty spot. So if you supply him with the service, then he will score. But it's Gio's job now to weigh up, are we going to be able to provide a Kemar Roof type centre forward with that service for the game in Seville? Or do we have other options to get the ball in their box? So that's what the quandary he's got to settle. He's got to come up with a solution for all of that. I don't think Kemar Roof coming back from injury would be enough for him to change it.
That's what Kemar Roof should do. Kemar Roof he's a poacher, he's a finisher, he's the best finisher we have at the club, and that's why I think it's if even if he doesn't play on Saturday, if we can get him on the bench, then I hope we don't need it. But if we're chasing a goal and we're putting all the pressure on Frankfurt, sorry, I forgot who we were playing there. I nearly said Seville. But
doesn't matter for me, we're playing.
It doesn't fucking matter. The other team, if we're putting all the pressure on the Dafties, then you want your best finisher at the club there to hopefully soak it up and get something. So I think potentially controversial for the 3 years, but Kemar Roof on the bench is probably who'd have thought it in January if we said no, we're going to be in a European final and we're going to tout Scott Wright to start ahead of Kemar Roof. But that's football, isn't it?
Carted off to the funny farm for that stuff. That'll get you locked up.
So, in that note, gents, I think that's as good a time as any. Just before we go, a wee bit of heads up to next week. We're hoping to give you a wee bit more coverage than what we usually do. What that looks like or who'll be doing it, I don't quite know yet. We've got a few ideas, listeners, so keep an eye on YouTube, Spotify, Acast, the usual place. It might be a wee bit more shorter coverage that you're getting, but a wee bit more frequent, hopefully. I don't know, we'll tend to wing it in true Gallant Few fashion. But all that's left to do is, as always, thanks my two guests for this evening. As always, gents, I'm going to ask you to say your goodbyes and give me a prediction for this Saturday and the pretty much nothing game against Hearts. So, Craig Campbell, as always, mate, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Colin. As much as I couldn't care less what the score is this weekend, I'm going to go for 2-0 Rangers. And again, I need to reiterate, I do not care what the score is this weekend. Probably the first and last time I'll ever say that about a Rangers game, but as long as we're fighting fit for next week, I don't care.
Amen to that. And of course, the magnificent Davie Pollock. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Smashing, Colin. Again, it's Craig's just said, I don't think the result on Saturday matters one iota. What's more important is that Gio gets to try things out, whatever he's got in mind for Wednesday. It's seen that there's nothing in it for Hearts, there's nothing in it for us. Really hope the game is played in that spirit. And we'll get Lowry back on another 90 minutes, first team game, a kind of hostile environment. I'm not sure it's going to be that hostile because there's nothing at stake, but it's first team football, and he'll be up against one of his teammates, if nothing else. But that's all I'm looking for Saturday. Everything is all about Wednesday. Saturday matters not a jot. It's the 90 minutes, get the ball out there, let's get it over with, and get on to the main event.
You took the words right out of my mouth, boys. Let's just get through Saturday, fast forward to Wednesday, but I'll give a prediction. I told you 2-1 victory. An Alex Lowry double. We'll go for that. That'll be what my coupon says, but my heart will be elsewhere. My heart will be Viva España. As always, thank you all for listening. Take care. Safe travels next week. Go have a fucking ball. And until then, we are the people.